Do you want me to sing the intro?
Welcome to Get Into Market, where your job is real, but your role is negotiable. Boom. Did not have that to read from and nailed it. John, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm a little tired, but I'm doing fine. How are you?
You know, actually, I'm not as tired today because I got a decent amount of sleep, but you just got back from sales kickoff. How much fun was that?
Sales kickoff, super fun. This is, how often do you find yourself wearing a sweater as you get older? Like, is the number of days you turn to a sweater a direct parallel line to your age?
Oh my God. I can't tell if I'm wearing a sweater now. Does like these quarter zip ups count?
Oh yeah, that's a quarter zips for life.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know.
I feel like it's probably it's at least sweater adjacent, right? So then
I got a new sweater at sales kickoff. That's how that went.
A sweater, not a sweatshirt. A sweater?
No, it's a sweatshirt. I should have been more specific. I got a new outerwear. I get a lot of outerwear.
That's not outerwear, is it? Isn't a jacket outerwear?
It's like a zip. It was actually freezing cold where we were. Not just inside, or outside, but inside as well. And so I wore a jacket for 3 days straight. I was so cold the whole time. Brutal.
Yeah.
How was your week? What did you do this week?
Well, I didn't get any free sweatshirts. So that's a bummer. But it's been a bit of a busy week. Were you affected by the Ice-mageddon or whatever we want to call the ice storm?
I learned it had a name. Did you know his name's Fern?
Yeah, that's right. But then nobody used it in the news. So it was like,
right.
Yeah, where schools shut down.
They shut down on Sunday for Monday and for Tuesday. They're like, but they shut it down early. So that was kind of nice. I knew about it ahead of time.
By the way, when we had our youngest, it was during COVID, but our core memories of a lot of that period were just the early being at home, dealing with school at home, virtual school and stuff with our oldest. Now when we have like winter storms and stuff and like we have both at home, it is just like, oh, so this is what it would have been like if we'd have had 2 kids back in like the COVID times.
Yeah. You think you would have moved? Is it enough where you would have been like, we need to get a different house for us to be here? I don't even know what your house was.
We actually did. We lived in a townhouse at the very beginning of the pandemic. So we were basically like spending 12 hours a day on this like one floor in the dining room, like working and with our kid at home, and
not fun. I talked to somebody who said they spent 20 hours a day in their bedroom for like a year and a half, and I had just not thought of that. But it seems crazy. But if your office is in your room, as many people's was, then sleeping for whatever amount of time and then working 20 hours a day. They're like, I never left. I thought that's not healthy.
Just glad we get like some temporary reminders every now and again of how much fun that was. That's the thing with these winter storms, is it's a good refresher. Today's episode is a topic that I'm going to say is kind of near and dear to my heart. I'm curious about your takes on it, which is something I've experienced over time. I think it's something that's very easy, which is no matter what product you work on or own or whatever, the odds that you have a grumpy customer really high. Like you're going to have some detractors in that customer base.
Yeah.
And I think it's very easy. Like if you are working really closely with the product team and you're listening to your big customers and you're looking at like, CSAT scores and reviewing stuff and voice of customer exercise and that sort of thing, it's really easy to have an inordinate influence on your own view and perspective of a product. And one of the things that I think is really valuable in how, at least on the product marketing side, and to an extent, I think like PMs are great at too, is being the evangelist internally for these products. And so if you're listening to this really big enterprise size or whatever for your size, or they're one of your big anchor customers and they are just constantly like nagging on what this product doesn't have and what it needs and how you guys haven't delivered for them in the past, it's really easy for you just to kind of start thinking that like, that is the product and it isn't delivering. And this one customer is representative of a whole bunch of customers. And And so like we've talked about on previous episodes, it starts to color your understanding of like what that product's value is and whether or not it's a good product. I'm curious, John, have you ever had to reorient your understanding of like the product and the value it delivers based on like feedback from a big customer? Has it kind of changed your view of the product?
A story that came to my head, we had user forums, and so people could talk about the product and talk about stuff. And so just like all things on the internet, that's really all we saw and paid attention to. You know, people don't post like, we love it. I mean, we saw some of that too, but it was a lot of that at the time, and people just ragging on us. And one person in particular was just dumping on us and hard and was really grumpy and said all kinds of things. And then I think like true Midwesterners, we just decided to passive aggressively love this person. And so we ended up just spending a bunch of time talking to them. And I bet they're probably one of the biggest fans of that product still now. Like we converted them. But at the time, it was really, really hard to not have it affect me personally, you know, because like you really care about your product. You care about what you're doing. And every day, if someone joined a call and made comments about what it looked like behind you, how long would it take you to switch? You know, just like, oh, I am going to get new furniture in here or whatever. So it felt like that. It was really, really hard. Have you had that?
Yeah. The follow-up question I was going to have to that story was like, of your previous or current roles, what percentage of the time are you an actual like user of your product?
Now I'm just going through the data in my own head. I was somewhat of an actual user.
Yeah,
I was
computer
aware.
like you are. Go through that data.
Yeah. I was aware. That's really funny. Robot. I was aware and using the product for some capabilities, and then started working there, and then worked there for a while, and then I learned of another tool and used that, but then worked on a different part of it. So actually, when the robot finishes, my current role is the only place that I haven't been a user, and my skill set doesn't really lend myself to be a user. I mean, I'm not anywhere close to the kind of level of skill that our daily customers are using. So yes and no. How's that for a long answer?
Yeah, same. And mostly no, though. Like even when I have used it and messed around with it, like I've been a true user once where we actually like adopted the tool internally. Part of that too is like, if it is more abstract to you, you're more likely to be kind of persuaded or colored by what other people are saying, and especially if it's like a big customer. And so one of the things that really sticks out to me about this is like, and maybe this is more of a product marketing thing, but if you're a good product marketer, you have strong influence cross-functionally. And it's one of the reasons why you can really have a leadership role at an IC level in product marketing. You're one of their main inputs they're looking to about like, what is going on with this product? Like, how good is it? Where does it sit in market?
Yeah, and positive and negative.
Positive and negative. And one of the things that I think is really important for a PMM to think about is what you do with that influence and whether or not that influence is a thing that helps that person do their job better or makes it harder. And so if you're taking that into meetings with like someone from growth or demand gen and marketing or events or sales and sales enablement and the SDRs or BDRs, whoever's like frontline, they're kind of the cheerleaders, right? They need to be able to go out onto the court or the field and put on a really good show. And if what you're telling them is like, hey, this team that you're cheerleading for sucks.
Yeah.
And it's embarrassing that you're even having to go out onto the field and cheer for them. Like, how does that make their job easier or better? And how does that help you get to whatever your like revenue and bookings goals are? And so it's just like knowing your audience. And I'll tie this into my next point, which is there's no reason for them to feel that way about the product. Like they have a job, right? Their job is delivering bookings if they're in sales or pipeline if they're in marketing. There's no reason for them to kind of get into the nitty gritty of where the product isn't delivering for specific customers.
Yeah.
It doesn't really help them operationalize the stuff that they need to get wins. And so I want
to not challenge that, but maybe at some point, have you had a situation where it actually has been a bad product, it has been something, and just saying that to the sellers, just like a little bit of self-awareness, like, yeah, you're right, we've got stuff to do. That message is almost as strong, or in some situations is as strong as, hey, it's great, everything's rosy. But have you found being pretty straight up or honest about a situation like
the empathy of that too? I think like, because especially sometimes you're getting feedback from sales of like, hey, we're having trouble selling this because of this thing that we haven't ever gotten from product and engineering, and you're willing to say like, yeah, we have not delivered that for you, and that makes your jobs harder. Can be a really powerful thing to be able to say. at the same time, they still have a quota that they're carrying. It's like amnesia about the core value, where you get so focused on the stuff that your product hasn't delivered on that you forget that there are still hundreds or thousands or hundreds of thousands of users and customers and accounts that get value from this.
Right.
And so how do we make sure that the marketing team and the sales team are still translating that core value, whatever else isn't getting delivered on? Because truthfully, like as they're talking to especially prospects, they still need to be able to translate that core value and how it addresses like that specific prospect's pain points. But by and large, like they still need, and it's helpful for them just to kind of know what those core values are, and that those aren't necessarily detracted from just because you've got a grumpy customer.
You've done this for me or to me. It's one of those two. I think I'm very much, here's the vision, here's where we're going, here's what's happening. And I'll just beat that drum a lot. And part of that is to keep some of what you're saying in mind of, hey, remember, here's where we're going. Remember, we have this many people that use this and this is why they're doing it, and kind of keep positive. But there's also the reality of the way that you're talking about that isn't concrete enough. They can't connect their world to that. If you got to stay positive, but you've helped me be very practical and concrete with stuff. Is that the same type of conversation?
I think it is. I mean, if you think about a lot of what we talk about on the show, is it's
you making fun
how
of me?
much of our,
You making fun of me?
Yeah, that's part of it. But it's like how much PMM and PM roles rely on like being good communicators, and part of being a good communicator is listening. And so it's that piece you were talking about like sales might have issues that they're running into that the product doesn't address that's affecting their ability to close deals. And other parts of it are you communicating with a sufficient like clarity, and do you have like the data points to kind of back up what you're saying in a way that folks will take you seriously? And that ties back to communication skills.
We used to do these things called JPRs, JRPs, joint planning requirements planning. It doesn't matter. The end of it was we would get up. So we had just formed the product team. We'd get up on stage, and then I got a sales kickoff for a similar event, and everyone would just like, it was like the first one I participated in was legitimately 4 hours long, and people would just raise their hand and then be like, yeah, so why did you do this, this, and this? And you made this product feature and it sucked. It was garbage. And so we would just go to these and get our butts kicked, and they would yell. And like, I remember being kind of off to the side, getting ready, and just like, we were all kind of pumping each other up, like me and my coworkers, like, okay, this is going to suck. We're going to go up there. We're going to get punched in the mouth for the next 4 hours. And then after that, like, it'll be fine. And I honestly don't know if we implemented many of the features they ever talked about or said anything.
Yeah.
But it was mostly just to like, let them vent, just get it out and be the punching bag in some ways.
Didn't I try to get you to do this?
Now you know why I didn't want to.
But no, you said this. I remember this conversation because you were like, it just ends up being miserable. But I was like, sometimes people just venting gets it out of their system. And
I think it probably would have been worth doing it. The hard part about it was kind of to what you're saying, where it's hard to then stay focused on the good things that have happened. And especially when you've done a bunch of work, you've done a bunch of stuff. Like, what would you think if once a year someone just criticized every decision you made publicly in front of everybody else? Like, it felt like that. And you're like, what? I gotta switch a new career. This job sucks. But then, so we would kind of step back, and then I think we would mostly just like, okay, everything's fine. And it's not that big a deal. But I did get a sense of just relief looking at that. Like, okay, we got this many people using it. They're all happy. You're just a weird part of the internet that's mad at me. And, you're a Reddit comment in real life right now. That's what this is.
I am curious, like, one of the things I was going to ask you, how you think about, just as a consumer, but even as a PM too, is like pricing increases, and what to you, messaging or value wise, makes those less painful?
Time is probably, that's the first thing that came to my head, where it's probably time and frequency. This is going to change for you in a year. And then 6 months later, hey, remember we talked about that a year ago? This is going to change for you in 6 months. Or, you get what I'm saying? That sort of thing I think is helpful. In some ways, this is a little bit like, so we're looking at buying a vehicle. It's like the game of the dealership where you're like, okay, I know I got to go in here. I got to go into the back room. You got to go fake. Like you got to all that stuff. There's a little bit of that. I feel like with pricing, everybody knows software is going to go up. Everybody knows inflation's a thing. Everyone expects at least, a certain percentage annually, but you still kind of walk through that. So there's, if you kind of say the quiet thing out loud in that regard, where it's not necessarily about the pricing that people are reacting to, but it's if it's too much too fast, which I've represented products that have done that, where you're like, we didn't give enough time, or, we didn't tell them enough, and they're just kind of surprised and they can't plan for it. And part of it is almost that. If you can help someone plan for it. What's that?
Didn't tell them enough, like what?
Early enough, I guess.
Early enough. Okay. Hey. You like knowing far and ahead. Okay.
Yeah. I was thinking like maybe a big part of the pricing frustration is because of planning. You didn't help me plan enough.
Because this to me ties back to that conversation. Because like when we talk on the PMM side about like a price increase, the immediate reaction from a PMM is, but we didn't do these things that we promised we would do. So like it's going to come across to a customer as really unfair that we're raising the price.
Sure.
And so some of that to me though is, okay, but you're paying double for eggs what you paid for like 2 years ago. Right? Like we live in a world where prices just go up, and we haven't raised our price on this product in however many, months or years or whatever.
Right.
And so whether or not you have heard from some customers that this thing didn't meet their expectations doesn't necessarily affect like the core value that they've received over time, and the fact that that price hasn't risen at the same rate the value has.
Yeah.
So there's some aspect too of that dovetailing into the pricing conversation of, does it really matter that this one thing that this customer didn't get on the time frame that they wanted to means that you should feel bad about increasing the price?
I see. Yeah. Because then you get into, is it necessarily always in a SaaS world direct feature added to right to increase price?
Exactly. Right.
And not at all. Yeah. I got myself into trouble once. Maybe this has been career limiting. I'm trying to find out where that is for myself. I'm pretty good at
told a lot of career limiting stories. Do you think that's why you are where you are now?
I doubt it. So I said something to the effect of, we could add 0 new product features and still make the same amount of money that we could still sell. And really it's just like, there's a bit of a rude part of that comment in that I didn't intend. Like, hey, sellers, you just suck. If you're better at selling, you could sell the value of what we have and find more people to sell to, maybe even marketing. But really the intent was more of what you're saying, where we have a lot that we can do, but adding new features, these new features are not what our customers are paying for. It's for some, but not for all. Some are excited about that. And that's not always the case, but by and large, I think I could have made similar growth without necessarily adding new features for a lot of the things that we've built and I've been a part of in my career. And it's a weird thing to kind of think through.
Philosophical question. Has SaaS shifted people's perception of the value of individual features?
Yes.
Which is to say that like now you're not just buying like hardware anymore, and you eventually have to then go out and buy new hardware when something dies or something new comes out. Mm-hmm. We are now expecting just kind of constant iterative growth from stuff that we're paying subscriptions for. Mm-hmm. But what's interesting to me about that is like how often I just think personally that really drives my consumer behavior. And it just doesn't seem like it does, right? Who knows how many times at this point Disney Plus has increased the cost. Core value of it is there's like a number of movies that seem to always be in that library that my kids will watch. And so that's what gets the subscription for me. How the app looks and feels, or what they add to the library, sometimes to me matters a little bit less. Even consumers, like there's still some core value that a SaaS product offers that gets people there and keeps them.
All right, let me chase this because this is kind of a fun idea. So I'm going to go ahead and say you probably have a few streaming services for video: Netflix, Disney Plus, Hulu,
literally all of them. Yeah,
all of them.
Terrible.
So, but you're not watching stuff from many of them. My question then is, with all the technology that's available, would you pay for a service that's just monitoring what net new content is available on streaming services and helping you choose which one to use month over month? Because you can cancel and re-up your Netflix or cancel and re-up your Hulu. Would you actually push it back to being feature by feature. And the streaming services is the example because it's discrete. This one added 10 new content pieces, right? You got the Raw wrestling thing. You got, Free Solo, whatever came out on Netflix. Do you think that you would pay an additional service fee for a tool that would actually tell you what new features are available and if it's worth the money to you?
I don't think I would. What I would maybe consider, so here's my conundrum with streaming services is they're like, because now everything has just gone into these like siloed landscapes with the apps and stuff. And so you've got like, there are certain shows that either I watch or my wife and I or me and the kids, whatever, watch that are on these specific things. What would maybe get me to do it is if it went down to the level of like, hey, none of the shows that you watch on this app are coming out with new seasons for 6 months or 9 months or whatever.
Yep.
That would maybe get me to at least turn off the service for a while. What's funny is we were looking to rejoin the Y for camps, for summer camp stuff.
Yeah.
And this, I think, is a new thing. It was like a $200 or $250 fee to do just the registration now.
Oh, like sign up fee.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because we used to just like join for however long we wanted for the pool or whatever, turn it off and then rejoin when the next summer or whatever. And now they've really worked hard to make that painful.
That's funny
for you to do that. And so I feel like that could be like what streaming services eventually get to, maybe, is like, they're like, yeah, we're going to make sure that you can't just turn us on and off by making it costly.
That would be the point, counterpoint. It would be interesting. And I'm trying to think of other places where it'd be such a direct relationship of money spent to features added, where you're, because the feature of Netflix is not the ability to view the content. It's I don't know another similar enough situation.
You know what I've been thinking through though is it's one of the reasons I think hardware would be a fun place to do product marketing for, is like the iPhone. So we got, just because of a need, had to kind of like upgrade my wife's phone to the latest. That? It's great. You no longer flip it to make phone calls and stuff, so you'll really like it.
Unless it goes back to flipping.
So we had to upgrade my wife's phone. We just upgrade to the latest one because, it gives you the longest lifetime or whatever to be able to make use of it and stuff. So get updates. Now hers is on USB-C to charge and everything, and I've still got like a Lightning phone. If I made the switch, it would probably be because of that more than anything else, because not enough has changed on the iPhones to make any of the rest of it worth changing alone, other than maybe like the camera. So like in a car, where it gets annoying is then we now have to keep we'd have to keep two cars or two cables in each car to be able to charge. And it's like that frustration might end up being enough to annoyance replugging stuff in. All right. Lessons learned, John. You have one?
I did have one. I once got into the continuous glucose monitors. I bought one. I feel like I have to say that. Like, my name's John and I bought a continuous glucose monitor once.
Like the arm thing?
Yeah. It did nothing for me. It had more people ask me if I'm now diabetic than it did anything else. Like the data did me zero things. But that market is growing at like something like 14% year over year, which is crazy. And I was like, that's more, like just more than I expected it to be. But then it got me. And then kind of the final hook or whatever is just more and more at-home health stuff is becoming available. And what I learned this last week is that you can now get B12 shots, like actual injections. So you can get syringes and B12 if you've maybe had too much to drink or you just need a little energy boost. You can do that. And somebody told me that it's not just the ability to get B12, but you can now get at-home administered IVs with like nutrient bags. If you're, whatever, including like, so my dad is a pharmacist. And so he called them banana bags. Like if people came in, they'd pump their stomach and give them a banana bag and get them on their feet and go. But you can just do that at home now. So like all of these things that were kind of specific to medicine inside of a hospital or whatever, you just now put that IV in your arm. Just you do you, man. That's fine. And I don't think I'm here for it. I think that's pretty weird.
I thought this was going to be where I learned like your kids haven't been to a doctor in like 12 years.
Oh yeah, no, they go to dentist. That's
you're
all
their
fake.
Doctor.
But yeah. But people using it, and they're like younger people using them so that they can drink and still keep going. And I was like, maybe make better choices.
Yeah, but that's you over 40 giving that advice to, I feel like.
I think it's pretty sound advice. If you're giving yourself shots at home in your thigh because you want to be able to drink with the bros, make better choices. What did you learn?
Did you learn that was high horsey, John. That was high horsey for a guy that also went to college. Mine is, I don't know if you saw this news that this is going to be old news by the time we publish this episode, but G2 is acquiring Capterra software advice and GitApp. So a real consolidation of the software review market, the peer review stuff. So interesting.
Why do you think that is? Why did they do that?
Well, I think Gartner needed money. That's the main thing because they owned those three.
Yeah.
And, I don't know if you've noticed the trend in capitalism, but monopolies tend to kind of make more money. And so there's a tendency for consolidation where possible. Yeah. But what's interesting to me is the need for the buying process to incorporate how agentic AI or generative AI and the search tools that Google and Bing now use to aggregate information has affected the buying process. But I don't think they pull specifically from like the detail at the detail level in like a Capterra, GitApp, whatever. So it'll be interesting to see like how that plays a role over time or how they try to integrate that with AI searches and AEO and that sort of thing.
That will be interesting. Like how many people are going to be making $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 buying decisions on software based on AI conversations? Do you think that's a real thing? How far is that from you and for you? Would you interact with a robot to find out how to use a product and then buy it?
Okay, I have a funny question to ask you after this, but would you not start your buying search by like, is that not how you would start it? Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, that plays an instrumental role in who you reach out to for
I see.
demos and stuff like that.
Yeah. I'm not challenging AEO as a concept, but just like that would go all the way through to purchasing feels weird to me.
I saw a thing on, so this is my question I was going to ask you is I saw a thing on Instagram where somebody was like, a thing that millennials do that younger generations don't is there's like a threshold for what they would buy on their phone versus what they would need to go like open a laptop to feel safe buying. And I was like,
really just it's phone to laptop?
Well, like, and basically like if it's over a certain amount, like you'd want to do it on your laptop instead of doing it on your phone. And I was like, that is That's true funny. Because there's something about like buying something from my phone that feels a little too like casual. Do you have a threshold? Do you think about that?
That's what I'm trying to think. I just bought some tools without really researching.
Very expensive tools there. Jeez.
Yeah, they were
Mr. Moneybags over here. What tools were they?
Because my batteries died on my drills and stuff. So then I was like, yeah. So I
actually broke it too, but I did a lot of the research on my laptop, so I feel like that counts.
Oh, right. Yeah. So you're still kind of like a millennial in that way.
I guess, yeah.
Well, so I do think it would be funny to buy a car on the internet. I'm just kind of like curious about the whole car.
I have done that, but I also did that from my laptop.
So I tried to do it from my phone. Like I was like,
you did? You actually tried to do it?
Well, I was going to go through and the website wasn't optimized for it. Like I probably would have bought it if it was easier to walk through the process. So, hey, Carvana, thank you to our sponsor, Carvana, who's going to change their mobile buying.
That was where I bought a car online, and it actually wasn't that bad a process.
Yeah.
Lots of complaints, I think, after I bought that car from Carvana, though, about Carvana and their registration and all that sort of stuff.
Save them for later because they're our sponsor.
Did you buy the car on Carvana?
No, the part that got blocked is if you have a credit freeze under your name, there's no easy way to take off the credit freeze and then continue the buying process.
Well, for you, it's the IRS that has to lift that freeze, though, right?
That's true. Yeah, it took a minute and a lot of phone calls, and they came out.
Productischange.com is our website. You can learn about the show and guests, and every Tuesday, new episodes. You can find us on YouTube and Substack as well. And good talking to you, John. It's been a while. I will say you do look as tired as you apparently feel.
Yep. I'm all those.
Yeah. You look like a ghost of some holiday past.
I'm going to email your feedback to the topic of the week, we're going to read it, but not going to think about it a lot unless you give really good feedback. Then we're going to dwell on that for a long time. We're going to put it up and look at it all over the house.
Yeah. All right. Talk to you later, John. Bye.